Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Pacific Historic Parks History Talk, brought to you in partnership with Edutainment Learning. I'm Nicholas Puzan, the Education and Interpretation Coordinator for Pacific Historic Parks. We are a nonprofit organization who works in partnership with the National Park Service. Together, we support Pearl Harbor National Memorial in Hawaii, home of the USS Arizona Memorial, War in the Pacific National Historical Park in Guam, American Memorial Park in Saipan, Kalaupapa National Historical Park in Molokai, and Diamond Head State Monument in Hawaii. Our mission is to remember, honor, and understand World War II in the Pacific. Through education and interpretive programs, we strive to perpetuate the memory of historical events and honor the people that were involved. History Talks is an interactive series designed to share the history and stories of Pearl Harbor and World War II in the Pacific. History Talk series was designed for students, educators, the general audience, and organizations from across the world to provide a live interaction during these uncertain times. Today, we are honored to have as our guest speaker Marian Sousa, a Rosie the Riveter who worked as a draftswoman in the Kaiser shipyards during World War II. Marian is a docent at the Rosie the Riveter sorry about that, the Rosie Riveter World War II Homefront National Park in Richmond, California. And go ahead and take it away, Marian.
Good morning. My name is Marian Sousa. And and I came to California from Oregon, and I rode a Greyhound bus. My sister was living in Richmond, California, and she wanted to work in the shipyards, and she needed a babysitter for her little boy. That was in the summer of 1942, so I came to California. By July of 42, the Boilermakers and Shipbuilders Union had finally accepted women and African Americans into their ranks. So my sister was one of the first women welders that was trained. She was early on, and so she had to wait till 5 more women had been trained as welders. Then they were sent to a separate unit of the shipyard called prefab. And this is where the 3-story deck houses were built. They had a chaperone because they weren't sure how the men would treat these women who were doing not only the same work that they were doing, but getting the same pay. So, but the chaperone soon lost his job because the women showed that they could do that work and they could hold their own as women. So I had, during the summer of 42, while I was taking care of my nephew, I met my future husband, and he was in the Coast Guard. And so by the end of the summer, I didn't want to return to Oregon and my family. And so I enrolled in the local high school for my senior year. I got married during my senior year. And when I graduated in June of 1943, I had an art class teacher who recommended me for a special class at UC Berkeley. It was a 6 weeks course in engineering drawing, and I learned to read and to draw blueprints. We could, when we completed this final blueprint per instructions, that was our diploma. And so I was hired right out of that classroom to go to shipyard number 3 in the engineering department as a draftsman. In shipyard number 3 built 2 types of ships. The cargo ships that the other yards were producing, but we also produced troop transports. And my initial job was to get those plans for the troop ships up to date. They had made improvements, and so the original blueprints had to be kept up to date. And so they are always drawn in pencil. And so with instruction, I would follow what I had to do. And one big job was they had decided to put 3 bunks in the officers' quarters. So I had to go through all of those blueprints and erase the 2 bunks and put 3 bunks in there. But I did other things. I went with the maritime inspectors down into the ships and with a clipboard, and of course wearing a hard hat, and it would take notes of what had to be changed. They were very diligent about making things safe. And one time it was just the length of a screw that had been put in there, and that had to be noted and that had to be changed. They are very, very good. And I worked in a room with just women because there weren't any young men left. They had all joined the service. I know that when I was 15 when I sat in the classroom on a Monday after Pearl Harbor and listened to the president say that we were at war. And that was Monday, and by Friday, 2 of the senior boys had already joined the service. And this was happening all over the country. So my work people were only just women. Of course, we had men supervisors, and they had been taken off other engineering projects, but everybody knew what they had to do, and it was a good working conditions, good working crew. We appreciated everybody's efforts, and everything was done towards getting the war over with. My father was in the Army, and he had joined during World War One. And he fought in Germany and France and got not only the Purple Heart, but the Silver Star. And he had been stationed in Eugene, my hometown. And when, I guess it was 39 or 40, they transferred him to Fort Stevens in Oregon. It was the harbor defenses of the Columbia River. And so we all moved up there. And then again, after I had come back, he got transferred locally. I had another sister, Marge, who came, and she became a welder. But my dad, when he was transferred down locally, my mother wanted to do something for the war effort. And because her 3 daughters were working in the shipyards, two of them welders and myself a draftsman. And so she joined. She put my younger sister into the Kaiser child care, and they gave her breakfast and sent her to school every day. And she became a painter. So there were 4 women in my family who worked in the Kaiser shipyards, doing our part for the war effort, and very proud of it. Yeah. When my dad came down, you see a picture of us in San Francisco. We had gone to eat dinner at a nightclub. This was actually a nightclub. And you notice that women wore hats, always wear hats and dressed up when you went to San Francisco. So it was a very special occasion to have my family with me and my husband. So it was a nice evening. So, you'll see now a photo of my mother in her white coveralls, and she was very proud of her job. She worked as a painter, and then she became a person that went ahead as the spray painters and covered up the brass plates and things that were not supposed to be painted. She pasted them down. And anyway, she's very proud of the fact that she only got spray painted once, so she knew how far ahead she had to be of the crew. But we live in a Bay Area where the wind comes up at any time, and accidents had happened. But she was a great gal, just like the rest of the people. And you see that women really got in there and did their job. proudly. A lot of a lot of people from different nationalities working together, men and women working together, and it was a united effort for everyone. So it was. I'm so happy that I got to work during that time. But after a year, I was expecting a baby, and so when I announced that I was going to have to leave the ranks, and it was the men of my department that gave me a baby shower. Very much surprised. Uh, this picture is of my family that they came to see the baby. The baby was pretty new then, so very proud people. My husband, myself, my younger sister, my dad, another sister Jean, and my mother. So we had enlarged the family. So and that's what happened in 1944. A lot of wartime babies born, and mine was one. So uh, these these are a picture of my workers, my co-workers who would come to visit me before the baby was born, and they brought a cake and much happiness. I was so glad to see them. You know, and you can see they're all happy. We all are. And in September, and in this area, it gets pretty hot, so that explains the other picture. So, uh, yeah, these are my Rosie friends. We talk not only at the Rosie the Riveter part. Well, I have to say the whole Rosie the Riveter World War II Homefront National Historical Park, the longest name in the national park system, but we could say it. And this is Agnes and Kay and myself and Marian Wynn and Mary Torres. Uh, Three of them were welders, and Marian was a pipe welder, so they were all welders, and had to wear those heavy leather coveralls and scarves. You couldn't let your hair show. That's why the bandanas. Everybody had to wear a bandana. Welders had to do more. They had to keep their hair tied up, and then a little hat that sat between the bandana and the hood. Um, so it was the hood was very essential. They could raise it up to see what they had done, or pull it down to do their work. Um, my sister always wore a sweatshirt, which was the only color was gray, but she would the collar. She'd wear a shirt underneath with a collar, and she would match the collar with her bandana. That was her attempt at vanity during that time. Everybody looked alike when they were wearing those uh, uh, leathers, and heavy. They were heavy, and the stinger and rods that they had to carry, and I know Agnes told of going down into the double bottoms of the ship, and she had to have all this equipment with her, plus a great big flashlight, and to do pickup work. Pickup work for welding was when a weld had not been good in that particular place, and it had been chipped out. So then it had to be replaced. And when you think that an inspector had gone in there in the first place and found where there was an error, and then somebody had to go in there and chip it out, and then the new welder go in there, with all their equipment. It was a challenge that the women all met. Uh, Double bottoms are a very narrow space, claustrophobic for some people. They usually chose women that were small in stature to do the job because of that. And, but they did everything that was given to them. I know that my sister, at first, they gave her that pickup work, and she said each morning the lead men would lay out, say what they had to accomplish that day, how many yards of this weld had to be done. And so she would always say, I can do that, I can do that. And finally he let the women, but he was a man and a little biased, and this was new. This was new. They didn't know that women could carry the load so well, and they did. And I'm so proud that I did that. I didn't have to do hard physical work like my mother and my two sisters, but mine was a responsible job, and I was happy to do it. Uh, of course, this was a patriotic duty. I felt that. For some, it was a job, and of course, for everyone, it was the money involved, and it was for that time, it was very good money, and because we had so many restrictions that you couldn't buy, you couldn't be frivolous or anything, and so it was just the essentials, and so we saved, and most people did, and they bought the war bonds, and they bought the war stamps, and they did everything to help the war effort. Rationing made things difficult, and I was newly married, and so I have a cookbook that has the wartime supplement in it. We speak to schools, and we speak to groups, and we uh, everything. It's the same story that we tell, but it's always different groups, and it's very enjoyable and enlightening. We hope to have women realize that they are capable, and they can take on jobs that they never knew that they could. And if you want to do something, a particular job, you have to keep to it. Put your mind to doing it and do it. So, but we enjoy the visitors and that come, and we all tell our stories and pose for a photo with everyone. And we've met a lot of nice people, a lot of nice people. So, uh, my about the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, my sister Phyllis was aware that the millions of women who had worked on the home front had never been recognized officially by the White House. And so she started writing letters. She thought that we should be recognized just like the sports players. They'd get to go there and meet the president. And so she was persistent. She would make her envelopes very distinguishable and send them to the White House. Uh, that didn't work. We learned that the mailroom is a powerful source there. They are the ones who select letters that go to the president and the vice president. We found out that they only get 10 letters a day, and it's selected by the mailroom people. So my sister kept writing these letters, and but she would also contact representatives or anybody she could find a name for in the government. She did that for 12 years with no results. So she said, Marian, this is the last letter I'm going to write. And she wrote to Vice President Biden. Well, lo and behold, he got her letter. He not only got her letter, he called her on the telephone, and he invited us to Washington, D.C., to the White House. So she was just stunned. She was finally, after all that time, her dream had come true, that she got the White House invitation. So then it was a scramble. How are we going to get there? So there was a GoFundMe account, and people donated towards it. And then the Kaiser people realized that they had a kind of a responsibility. We were all Kaiser workers, and so they donated a lot of money towards our trip. This is a picture in the airport, and it seems like this was Virgin American Airlines, and they gave us the trip to Washington, D.C. in business class. And these flight attendants who weren't on duty that day still came down to a big party, and you could see us. We're drinking champagne with cranberry juice in it, but it was all great. It was a great send off. Uh, our plane was piloted by two women, and this was so special that those pilots led us onto the flight deck. We got to sit in the pilot's chair and hold that stick. And I mean, we're just gaga. I mean, we are older women, and for this to be happening during our lifetime was just mind-boggling. The whole thing has been. Been just a roller coaster of so many great things that we got to do. So we got to Washington, D.C., and Vice President Biden had promised surprises for us. Well, first of all, when we were going, we realized we were going to have transport chairs, and we're going to have somebody to handle it. So each of us got to take someone. I took my daughter, and some took their daughter or granddaughter to push the chairs, but also Kaiser representatives. So we were a big party of 14 by this time. And so when we got to the White House, we didn't know if they would get in, but they did. They got to go in. They got to meet Vice President Biden. He is a wonderful, warm person, and greeted us just joyfully. We all got hugs, and we didn't object. And so they're genuine. He is a genuine family man, and wonderful to give us this opportunity to be there. This picture was taken in the Roosevelt Room in the West Wing of the White House. He had arranged for us to go to the Pentagon. Actually, the Pentagon, and we got to meet the Secretary of Defense in his office there at the Pentagon, and we had a guide. We got to ride in those golf carts, of course, because you know that is a huge edifice. And we actually saw the area where the 9/11 bombing took place, that they had crashed into the Pentagon, and we saw that memorial that they had there, and sobering. But to go to the Pentagon, and we got to meet the Secretary of the Interior. But here in the White House, Vice President was talking to us, and then all of a sudden the door opened on the side, and he stood up, and President Obama came in, and what a joy to see him. And he is a kind, great man, and each of us got a hug on the kiss on the cheek, and he talked to us, just so he invited us into the Oval Office. In the Oval Office, I mean, so we have this photo that we treasure and well framed nicely in my home, and it's just amazing that we got to do that. But more than that, when we came out and the president came out with us, and so all the helpers were there, and he invited them in too, so they got to have their photo taken in the Oval Office too. And that's the kind of men those men are, kind and willing to make things special for us. We had lunch in the White House, and in the Navy little place. It was a cozy little place, and so we're all in there. But it was wonderfully done. We had, this picture is in Vice President Biden's home. We were invited to his home for breakfast, and it's just overwhelming, all of the good things that happened through him. Imagine open up his own home to us, and so we had a lovely lunch, breakfast, and and he's talked with us, and more stories. He's got lots of stories. And then his aides kept tapping him on the shoulder, and finally he says, my boss is calling. So he had to leave. But we got to wander all over that lower area, and his home is just, every flat surface has photos of family and friends, and it's just a warm setting, like he and his wife uh, are, and it was just a wonderful experience. This is in the special, this is a fence area, and this is the going through the gates there. That was the first time that we'd really seen security in action, and it works. I mean, but the nice thing about it is our van drivers. We had two vans, and these men were Ethiopian drivers, and they had been cleared, and so one of them got to go and take photos, and we all got to go into the pool house. I mean, that's really personal, but it showed, and there's a swing and on a tree, and yes, he carved in the tree with a heart with the Joe loves Jill, and yeah, he did. So it's there, and so it was just a wonderful experience at the home. It's on the grounds of the National Observatory, so we got to see all of that books. I was amazed at the books. We got to go to Nancy Pelosi's office. She greeted us, and then she said, "I'll be right back. I have to vote," and that's what she did. So we assembled later for a photo thing, and she signed my menu that I'd taken from the White House. Yes, I did. I assumed it was to be taken. Uh, you know. So anyway, she signed my menu, and so I treasure that. I have a lot of treasures from that trip. My memories, especially, and this was really something. The photos in the background are legislators from our area that had come to be with us and to greet us, and people were just so nice. We did visit the war memorial, which is very sobering and well done, very well done. We liked that. We went to the Lincoln Memorial, and up those stairs, and to see Abraham Lincoln's statue. Well, we posed in front of that too. We're tourists. We are tourists, and wanted to get every joy out of the trip, and we certainly did. And I am a collector. I don't say a hoarder. You don't know. No, I am a collector, and so my collection is extensive. So after that trip to Washington D.C., people began to. We had more people coming to the visitor center, and then we got an invitation from the Navy to attend the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and they considered us veterans, and so we got to have all the privileges that the veterans did. They made our flight, and our accommodations were taken care of, and we got to attend a lot of events. Tammy, I don't like to call her a manager, but I guess that's what she does. So she is a manager. She signed up all of the stuff that was going on. We were going to do it all. Well, we did most of it. Yes, we did. This photo is on the plane when we arrived in Honolulu, and the pilot is there, and we have some veterans that are with us for this too. So this was special. We always got treated special, and they gave us when we came out, they gave us the leis for our around our necks and the greeting, and Hawaii is always lovely, and so we were transported to our hotel, and Tammy, our manager, was our driver, of course, and she has been there many times, and actually she was born there, so she knows that. So she knows the area. We got to, go around, circle around the island, and what was going on the 75th anniversary. It was many things going on, and we tried to attend as many as we could. We got to go to the hangars, and this photo is when we went to, this was Pearl Harbor Day, and we got there early, and but we got to sit with the actual veterans that had survived the attack, and what a privilege it was for all of us. I feel very humble. At one point, I got to sit next to a survivor from the Arizona. In fact, he had written a book. He was the next to the last survivor from the burning Arizona. So I really feel privileged that I could be with these men who gave all. We tried to help. I know we helped. And how, some things make you cry. And even looking at this photo of this honor guard makes me feel patriotic and humble. And what an honor for us. What an honor to be escorted down that group of military people who've devoted their life, their time towards our country. And that's how we felt. That's how I still feel. And that's why I do the talks and things, because I want people to know about that particular time of the country was going through, and how people came together, really came together to get through the war. This was just amazing, and we had a good time, and went to a gala, and then had to, which was lovely, and then had to get up really, really early in the morning to be able to be in place there at the Arizona Memorial where they did the ceremony. Very humbling. And the fact that, I was alive when this happened, and a lot of people, it was something. But we enjoyed Hawaii for what it has, and it has so many things, and pineapples and stuff. So I can't remember just where we are here, but I guess we're in the car.
We're in the parade on that
Oh, okay. Now, after that, I mean, we've had two wonderful things that happened to us. This was something else. We had a woman that had contacted Tammy and said she and her husband were coming from Normandy, and they were on their way to Hawaii, but they stopped to see our park and to meet the Rosies. And her name is Celine. And Celine and her husband came, and they talked to my friend Marian Wynn, who lost her brother. He was part of the D-Day invasion, and he lost his life a month later. And so she had arranged to, she asked Marian, have you ever been to France to see his grave? And she said, no. So she told Marian, I'm going to get you there. And the women in France and Belgium had got together, and they decided they were going to raise money to bring us. And they had special ballpoint pens that had the logo on it, and sold these. And here we started another GoFundMe account, and people really pitched in, and to get these us and get to get her to Normandy for the D-Day, the 75th anniversary of D-Day there at Omaha Beach. And this is where this cemetery is. Also, the American Battle Monument people cooperated and did various things to make it possible. So that is my sister Phyllis on the right side, on the left side, and she was a journeyman welder. Next to her is May Cryer, and she was a riveter. Marian herself was a pipe welder. I was a draftsman, and Agnes was a journeyman welder. We were amazed at the kindness and the genuine feeling that the people of Normandy and in France felt towards the American GIs. Not only the Americans, but all of those valiant people who stormed those beaches. We got to attend the ceremonies there at Omaha Beach, and so we got front row seats, and actually with Nancy Pelosi, and so I just stood up and had somebody take my picture of the stage in the background. And if you look close, you can see that that's Marian Wynn up there on the stage with all of those veterans. And so President Trump told of her story, and so she was doubly honored up there, and she got kisses on the cheek from the French president and Trump too. So anyway, this all of these people and treating us so lovely, and we just enjoyed it very much. We were kind of tired. This was a lot of traveling back and forth, and Tammy driving us in France too. So she and her husband, we had to have helpers, and there were only three of them: Tammy and her husband and her daughter, and they did all the navigating and all the handling of the suitcases and the food. And he even cooked breakfast for us. I mean, it was great. We were housed in a former mill of some kind that had been made into a guest house, and French things aren't always like American things. That's all I'm going to say. The steps aren't regulated like they are here. So anyway, that's another story. But here we are on Utah Beach. To walk actually on the sand where so many people gave their lives is very humbling. And but the people, this is taken care of by Americans, this particular area. But the French people honor all of the GIs especially, and by the fact on this anniversary, they don't do it just that week. I think it goes on for months before and after, that they like to reenact it, the D-Day landing, and so everyone dresses in the GI of the 1940s. In fact, in this picture, we have a veteran in front of us, but in the back of us are people who just wanted to look like an American GI. Yes, there were English and there were Canadian and others too, but the majority was American. And the veterans, of course, have been there before, I'm sure. This was our first time observing this, and it was quite, I kind of use it humbling too much, but that's the feeling. we got. We were treasured, and so were the guys. So were those veterans, and to eat at the same place with them and hear their stories and see all those medals on their chests and well earned, and to know that they're valued. That's good. That's good. And so we tried to do our part, to cheer everybody up, and we were just treated so well. Um, that's the big ocean out there. That's, even though England is close, still when you look out that water and you know what happened during those dangerous times, and the things on the beach to them, so that boats couldn't land, and it was just a humongous effort that the Allies did for that D-Day invasion, and so it was just amazing for all of us. We didn't really eat any really French food when we were there. Later on, when we got to Paris, um, I love French onion soup, and I was looking forward to the real thing. Well, my real thing I've discovered is at Applebee's here in the U.S. Because it didn't taste like it should. It had onions, of course, but it didn't have all the cheese and stuff we do, and it didn't have salt. Uh, I was disappointed. Uh, yeah, yeah. Uh, I have the privilege of something I said. We've been interviewed many times in many places, and so they needed a logo, more or less, for our park here in Richmond, our national park. And something I said, they made that the logo. I mean, there's that word. I feel honored. So what I said is, I specifically didn't do anything great, but I participated in something that was great. And so they've used that. And when you come to our visitor center, that's on a big wall, and it's across from the desk where you sign in, and we get people from all over the world that come to see us, and I'm lucky that all of this has happened in my life, in my lifetime. Uh, we're all well into our 90s, and we have one of our members. I'll just give you her name is Agnes, and she turned 100 years old, and she can still talk the talk. And we were happy that she had a great big party, and Vice President Biden called her on her birthday. Now that's the kind of a guy he is. He called her on her birthday. He remembered her. So we've my sister Phyllis, who I referred to before, is going to turn 99 in October. So she's still hanging in there, and she's working on she wants a medal designed, uh, so that there will be a medal that depicts the women who worked on the home front. And her design would have nationalities, different nationalities, and always with a bandana. And so she's working on it, and why not? You got to look uh, forward. She's petitioned to have a national holiday on March 21st. And she chose that because that's our mother's birthday, who lived to be 100. And but they're dragging their heels in Washington, D.C. But California has announced that March 21st is Rosie the Riveter Day. So we've got the original date. I know other states have declared Rosie the Riveter Day, but that is the one that's official, March 21st. So Yeah.
All right. That was absolutely wonderful, Marianne. Would you be open for people to ask you questions?
Sure. Yeah.
We don't have too many, or we won't ask you too many because we don't want to take up too much of your time. But that was absolutely amazing being able to walk down memory lane with you and
Oh,
share so
thank
many
you.
wonderful memories.
Thank
So
you.
we have a question. They wanted to know what was Eleanor Roosevelt's role in supporting women in the war front in World War II, as far as the Rosie the Riveters. We know that she was instrumental with that.
Well, she also started. I have to admit, I was just 17 years and 18 years old, and I didn't follow closely. Because life was just so exciting here that I wasn't paying that much attention. But Eleanor Roosevelt was really pushed women to exceed what was expected of them, and I think we proved that we did. The first were the WACs and the waves and the spars and the women joining organizations and other than working on the home front, they worked for the military, and we needed them. They were needed, but I know that some of them that had joined the Coast Guard, I think that's the spars. Yeah, they didn't know the terminology or the decks or any of the that information. So there was a lot of fun learning. So, but Eleanor Roosevelt was quite a lady, and we all admired her. And during that time, we didn't question the government. Uh, Things. We figured they were doing the best for the country, and so I know things were not done right, but they thought it was, and we supported the government. I know I did. I didn't question what was happening, but I'm sorry I can't give you more information about
That's
Eleanor.
great. We definitely know that you supported our country, and we are forever indebted to you for your service. So we have a question. Somebody wants to know if you know that if Liberty ships were manufactured for the ETO as troop transports. I'm not sure if you'd know that.
Troop transports were a different design than the cargo ships. They were a different design.
You had mentioned about war bonds and war stamps. Are those the same, or are they two different things?
They were different things. A bond was, although they accomplished the same thing. You saved the stamps, and you hung on to your war bonds until they matured, and then you got the money. So a lot of people saved that and was able to do a down payment on a home when homes were available. But it was very scarce during the wartime years. Housing was so. But the stamps you redeemed I guess at the post office, and they after the war they were worth you cash them in.
So we have a question from Anne. She wanted to know if you could talk about what it was like for women who worked in the shipyards until the war was over. How did you guys feel? How did those women feel about having to leave their jobs at the end of the war?
Well, first of all, we knew that we were there for the duration. We didn't really expect to keep those jobs. I mean, we knew that when the war was over, if there was anything left to do, and there were ships that had to be completed, that they would go to the veterans who could do that. We knew that we were just during the war. We during the duration of the war, and that was the understanding. And how many opportunities for a woman welder is there after when the ships are completed? It, and because it was so new that women were doing these things, it took a while for it to get into uh, the heads of, I have to say, men, that these women were capable of doing so many other things. And during the war years, there was a attitude, you didn't ask questions. And so I didn't know what all was going on as far as other jobs and stuff. And I'm told afterward that there were actually 50 other industries right here in Richmond during the war years. I did not know that. I know that Chevron, which is a big organization, was called Standard Oil then. They're the ones that developed the high octane for the jet planes during the war. So a lot of stuff was going on, and boats were being built in different areas that we did not know about.
So we'll end it with a couple of more questions, if that's okay with you. We wanted to know, somebody wanted to know if you knew any of your fellow Rosies before you started your work at the park.
Well, just my school friends and the people that I did know. There were 3 of us from my high school that went to that class at Berkeley and were hired. So we all were hired. One worked in my department with me, and another one went to another yard. So I just knew 3 people. Yeah,
So
my school friends.
And we'll end up with this. What kind of advice would you give women and young women and girls as they kind of go out into the world and kind of figure out what they want to do with their lives? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Well, if you really feel interested in one way of one type of job, go for it. Put your full effort into it. I have a granddaughter who is now in the medical field, and she's training for that. And it's just surprised me, but really pleased me that she had the drive to do that. And but a lot of times when a person is young, they do flounder around. They don't know what to do, but they also know in the back of their mind that there is something they want to do, and to pursue that. Although I was going to be a designer and live in a penthouse in New York City, I never accomplished that.
We're glad that you could share your story with us today. And I'm going to hand it over to our friends over at Pacific Historic Parks. I'm not sure Weston or there's Weston. So, and then we'll end it. I'm going to unmute everybody so everybody can say thank you on this call to you in a second when Weston is done.
Okay, yeah, Marian, thank you so much. That was amazing. Tammy, thank you for allowing us. I know you're managing basically it all. So on behalf of Pacific Historic Parks and Edutainment Learning, we would like to thank you for joining us today. I am Weston Saito, the Education and Interpretation Research Coordinator with Pacific Historic Parks. Marian, it's been an honor to share your story with us, and we appreciate your willingness to share. And we hope to see you at the Rosie, the Riveter World War II Homefront National Park.
Good for you.
That is a mouthful. Yeah.
Yes.
Ours is kind of a mouthful
you.
too.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
So History Talks series is an education and interpretive program designed to educate participants about the history of Pearl Harbor and World War II in the Pacific. Your kind donation is an opportunity for us to continue to provide free interactive programs to our viewers. A link has been provided within the survey. In the chat box, we have a link that will connect you to a short survey. And then this will allow you to share your feedback, suggestions, and any other questions that you have for Marian. We will pass them along to her as well. And mahalo for joining us, everyone. And Marian, we hope to see you again soon. Little known fact, I actually was at the 75th Gala, so I was actually seating people. So I don't know if I did seat you there. I didn't sleep at all. I was up the whole night, so I know how tired you were.
Yes, yes.
It was a good time,
thank you.
It was
Thank you
fun.
very much. I was happy to do it. I have more stories that I forgot to tell you, but that's okay.
No, it was wonderful, and hopefully we'll get a chance to sit down some more and talk one day again.
All
Mahalo.
right, then I'll fill you all the way in. All right.
Absolutely.
So I'm
Okay.
gonna go ahead and unmute everyone. So can we all say thank you to Marianne before I end this message, event? Can we say thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you.